All right, franchise tag deadline day in the books here as we had some, nothing crazy happening here, but still figured it could be an interesting video to just kind of break down what exactly it was that happened, who got the franchise tag and who didn't, because there are a few players that maybe we thought might have gotten the franchise tag, including one that was actually pretty shocking to me. The only other real news that happened was Dalton Schultz did get a contract, so a solid contract. I think it was a good contract by the Texans. But yeah, let's get into who got tagged, who didn't, and who are maybe the upcoming free agents for the free agency period that will start in less than a week at this point. First, let's go with who got the tag. So, again, it's worth mentioning, not every player on this list will end up playing on the tag. In fact, I bet a good chunk of them will not. That doesn't mean that they won't, they'll just sit out a year. It means that usually they will either say, I will play for the franchise tag. They will work out a long-term deal. Some of these guys, I'm sure, will want a long-term deal with their current team. And some might say, listen, I'm not playing on the tag, and I'm not going to sign the long-term deal you're offering for me. So either trade me or I'm going to sit out a year, and then you won't get anything for me. So those are typically the options. But yeah, a couple edge rushers, Josh Allen and Brian Burns. A little surprised, Panthers. The Panthers have gotten some criticism by not just locking up Brian Burns, but I actually think what happens with Burns is he kind of has incredible leverage because reportedly the Panthers did not make a trade for multiple draft picks for him, and so because of that, it almost works in the same way as when a team does trade multiple draft picks for you, because you can kind of say okay, well, how dumb are you all going to look if I walk in free agency? You kind of have to give me more money or you're going to look like idiots, which gives you extra leverage. Kyle Duggar got the transition tag, not the traditional franchise tag, meaning that he's off the market. However, he's still on the market, but they have a chance to match any offer. The Patriots can match any offer if a team gives Duggar an offer and then the Patriots say, you can have him, then the Patriots get a draft pick from the team that signs him. Usually it's still going to end up, I imagine Duggar will get either play on that deal or just sign a long-term deal with the Patriots. T. Higgins, that was earlier. These didn't all happen today. Jalen Johnson, of course, makes sense. Justin Matabuke makes sense. Michael Pittman, there was some debate as to whether or not they would do this, but I think it's the right call, especially with the Colts, who have a lot of money and don't typically use it on free agents. Keeping your key free agent makes sense, even if you feel like it's a bit more than he deserves. I don't know. I think he's a good player. L'Jarius Sneed, he's an interesting one. So he's a really good corner for the Chiefs. He's their number one corner, and their coverage unit was a huge reason they just won the Super Bowl. It seems like he's exploring other options, which I think that could actually be an underrated real big blow to this Chiefs team that was so good last year. Losing their number one corner, that could be huge. And so they're tagging him, but it seems like this could be a trade scenario if he likes a different offer better. So bit scary if you're a Chiefs fan. Granted, they're the Chiefs, they'll figure it out. But it's still a bit scary if you're a Chiefs fan. And Antoine Winfield Jr. seems like they want to work out a long-term deal. And again, as the case with a lot of these things, sometimes it's just giving you an extra week to do this. You want to keep the leverage of now Tampa Bay can say, hey, if you want to play for 1 year on a franchise tag, go for it. I imagine you'd rather just take a little bit less money but get a long-term deal now, which is usually how the franchise. That's the point of the franchise tag a lot of times, is less about the tag itself and more about the threat of the tag getting a long-term deal for cheaper. Few notable players that did not get tagged. Saquon Barkley, which I didn't think he was going to get tagged, but there was the chance. Xavier McKinney, a bit surprising. I'm surprised the Giants didn't. Leonard Williams is another guy they could have tagged. They choose to tag nobody, which was a bit surprising for me. Also, Christian Wilkins, that was kind of a jaw dropper. It was announced yesterday that he was not going to get tagged by the Miami Dolphins. Really surprised about that one. So this is a list of some of the top free agents that are going to be available that did not get tagged. Some of these we knew were going to be free agents and weren't going to get tagged. And these aren't all the top guys, but I think some of the most notable guys. Bit of a long list, but Chris Jones, very rare for a player of his caliber to hit the open market. I think he's going to get over $30 million. I really do. I think someone's going to give him that amount of money because why not? He's got 3 Super Bowl rings. He's an elite player, on the open market. That never happens. I think that's will he get a ton of years? I don't know, but he's going to get a lot of money. Kirk Cousins is now going to hit the open market. Oh, and I should clarify, though. I say hit the open market. There still is time left. So the legal tampering period starts on Monday at noon. But a lot of times, guys will still get, you can still sign your own player at this point. So the Vikings could sign Cousins to a long-term deal tonight if they wanted to. So some of these guys will not make it to legal tampering period, will not make it to pure free agency. Let's be honest. There's legal tampering period, but we're in the tampering period. I'm sure tampering is happening. But yeah. So Cousins, that would be very interesting to see how much he makes on the open market. As I mentioned, Christian Wilkins could make a ton on the open market if he gets there. Baker Mayfield, it seems like he wants to stay in Tampa Bay, but like, listen, I like living in Florida. I live in Florida. If someone's going to offer me $10 million a year to live in, somewhere else, I would do it. So we'll see what he decides to do. Danielle Hunter, very good player. Tyron Smith, who's kind of veteran guys that do sometimes hit the open market though. But like Kendall Fuller, little surprised Washington didn't lock up already or consider a tag. Leonard Williams, as I mentioned. Marquise Brown was, again, that trade could look really rough, right? Giving up a first-round pick for Brown, if he walks, like that was a misfire, I think it's fair to say. Bryce Huff, DJ Reader, Patrick Queen is another guy. I'm surprised, especially with the linebacker franchise tag, which isn't that much money. Like, I'm a little surprised. They used it for Matabuke, so they couldn't franchise tag. You can't franchise tag more than one person, so I guess I get it. But, like, it's just shocking that he's in the open market right there. That usually doesn't happen. I'm sure they're going to try to work to keep him in the building. And I'm sure if you're Patrick Queen, you'd like to stay in Baltimore if possible. Like, that's not a bad spot to be in. Calvin Ridley, another guy who's very interesting. I think is still a good player. Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, and Mike Onwenu, and plenty more. These are not the only guys. These are just kind of some of the key free agents that are upcoming. But yeah, again, interesting franchise tag deadline day. Nothing crazy happened. No blockbuster trade. I guess I should mention one guy who's not on this list that I guess is now a free agent, Russell Wilson. I didn't make a video on that. Russell Wilson has now been released by the Denver Broncos. They're paying a ton in dead cap to do it, but then at least it'll be all over after this season. It's kind of the logic. But he's another guy who's an interesting free agent, and he's definitely a pure free agent, right? There's no, he's not going back to Denver, which is interesting. So, in general, it should be a pretty interesting free agency period. Again, we'll see how it goes. But guys like Chris Jones, Christian Wilkins, like even like Tyron Smith and Danielle Hunter hitting the open market, potentially 2 starting caliber quarterbacks in Cousins and Mayfield, along with a good amount of like plan B quarterbacks like a Jameis Winston or a Gardner Minshew that are still interesting to me, and a lot of depth available here. So there's going to be some teams that are going to take some swings in free agency, and we'll see how it goes. And not to mention, every team got $30 million more in cap space this year, so that's the other interesting thing. But yeah, very fascinating seeing how some of these contracts work. But that's what I think about all this. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.